confidence going into a tournament where they've had really, really great success. So it's a different thing for this Canadian team. But for Bev Priestman and those 4 alternates, when I went to the Olympics in 2008, it was 18 plus 4, very much from a player's perspective, it was 22 united. But from the COC's perspective, even though you're there as part of FIFA and the soccer competition and you're all over the place, you're not necessarily at the host city or in the team village, those 4 are apart. So from a coach's perspective, do you go with fringe players, looking at players who might have to sub in need of, if there's injuries or something happens to those 18? Or do you go with a hype woman? Do you go with somebody who's going to bring the vibes? And I think, you know, Desi Scott, if she sneaks in there, that's the type of profile that you want in there. Somebody who's not going to make waves, somebody who's going to be a galvanizing force to knit the group together as they move through a really intense and rigorous competition.
Yeah, anyone who gets named, their position matters within this team. And we also know that Bev is going to be using these 2 games to see partnerships, to see what types of lineups that she likes. This is what she's going to go with right now out of the gate here for Game 1. Here's Canada's starting 11, brought to you by GE. Now, we know Nichelle Prince, who typically plays that number 9, got injured in the Gold Cup. She is back and healthy, but for precautionary reasons, she'll be on the bench. Adriana Leon will play in that number 9. How about that? Olivia Smith getting the start here. And Julia Grosso in the midfield. Quinn injured, getting that start along Fleming. Simi Awujo on the bench. Earlier, Amy Walsh had a chance to catch up with Bev Priestman.
I'm here with Bev Priestman right before Canada face Mexico in the first of a 2-game send-off series. Bev, your team had a really brave fall, great turnaround from a poor World Cup, and then W Gold Cup, and then She Believes, where we saw some really great things. Where do you think the team is, in your estimation, right now, as you get ready to ramp up to Paris?
Yeah, I think we're in a really good space. We're focused on what sits underneath the performance, you know, some of the behaviours and the mindset of the team, being a really together team, a very difficult team to beat, I think, in open play, 12 out of 13. So we're just tracking along. I think we're not getting too high, we're not getting too low, just focused on the process of being really hard to beat. And then I'm hoping to see, you know, the fluidity and the attacking flair come to life. We look really good in training. And this window is a balancing act, right? It's flow and preparing for an Olympics, and then it's given a run of players to see what they can do. And I've done that really over the last 9 months, to be fair. But yeah, it's balancing them outcomes.
And with an opponent with the likes of Mexico, what do you hope to gain from an opponent like them that puts you in good stead as you get ready to face in group play the likes of New Zealand, France, and Colombia?
Yeah, I think with a Mexico, we've got to first and foremost match a mindset. I think they could replicate a little bit of the Colombian element of surprise. They can break on an attack. You know, we've seen what they did against the USA and got that result. So I think it's that sort of, you got to balance having the ball, but also being ready for what can go the other way. I've got no doubt it's going to be a very difficult game, and we've got to, if we match the mindset, I think the talent and the ability of the group hopefully can shine through.
Mexico, a good opponent, that's for sure. The last time the Canadians faced them, November 2021, they were in Mexico, a 2-1 loss and a goalless draw. So a tough opponent here, no doubt, but as we just heard her say to you, Amy, mimics what a Colombia can bring. And of course, she wants to play teams that are very similar to who she will face at the Olympics. But let's focus in on that midfield. Obviously, Bev Priestman saying Quinn dealing with an injury, really hoping that they will be ready for the Olympics. Tight turnaround. And we always wonder who's going to play next to Jessie Fleming. Julia Grosso gets that start here today. And then on the flanks, Jade Revere and Ashley Lawrence will be playing the wingback role. What do you make of that midfield and how it needs to solidify before the Olympics?
I think you look to see who's going to be the most complementary to Jessie Fleming. And in previous contests this year, through the W Gold Cup and the She Believes Cup, it was very much Simi Awujo's position, and Grosso was second choice. So can she do something today, not just take up that space, but impose herself? I think you want to see Canada impose themselves on a Mexican side, especially from an attacking perspective, be fluid, create some threat, drive in some meaningful crosses, and fill the net. but then also be solid defensively and deal with Mexico's threats through the width and the channels, and then also the middle of the park. But from Grosso's perspective, can she really grab a hold of this match? Can she link up? Can she develop some partnerships with that attacking trio so that when Bev Priestman is coming to decision time, she can't leave Julia Grosso off that 18. So the performance today, she's certainly under pressure to perform, but what a day to do it. Great day here in Montreal, and I think a good opponent for her to measure herself against.
Yeah, this has to be her time. 14 minutes she played against Brazil, and she believes, and then 17 just against the U.S. This is her time to really step into that squad. When you play with two in the midfield, Andy, you have to be brave and take risks. Even speaking to Bev Priestman yesterday, that's what she wants from Julia Grosso. She's coming to camp fit. She's playing off of good vibes. But when you play with two, you have to be so dynamic and not play side to side and backwards. Have to play forward. Not every time, but picking those moments right is key to being a star midfield for this side.
Attackers, we love to talk about them and scoring goals. And right now, a lot of these players with their club teams are looking good. Evelyn Vienne, she's going to be on the bench, but looking good with Roma as well, with the amount of goals that she's been putting up in Serie A over there. But now we see a young Olivia Smith once again getting the start here. Janine Beckie on the other side. What do you just make of the attacker conversation with Canada?
Yeah, like Amy alluded to it, this is a good problem to have for a manager. But I think for attackers, whatever your strength is, whatever your X factor is, that needs to be present. If you're a player that loves to take someone on, make sure that you're doing that. If you're a player that loves to get in the box, make sure that you're doing that. Because these next two games against Mexico, it's not just a feel-good type of game. They're games where you want to go and say to Bev Priestman, I need to be playing. Olivia Smith specifically, the 19-year-old, I think her ceiling is super high. This is only her second start, but she's shown signs when she plays that she's confident. Age is really not a number for her. It doesn't matter. She knows that she's confident in her abilities, but there's still that green aspect. And what I mean by that is knowing to be in the right position, when to track back, when maybe not to take on a player and play your teammates and make the smart decision. And for Janine Beckie, we know her quality. Obviously, it's very difficult when you come back from an injury, but it's just getting to that sharpness and knowing where to be and knowing in that position. We saw at the She Believes as well, there are opportunities where maybe she could go and score, but she just wasn't there yet. But this is Olympic time now. These two games are so crucial for a player like this, and I want these players to press Bev Priestman, make her position so difficult to choose an 18.
Yeah, and we know Janine Beckie, I think her timing was just a little off. You're right, because she had just been off with the injury for so long. But we know the quality she brings. I don't know, Amy, when it comes to Olivia Smith, it just seems like this is somebody who Bev can't ignore. She named her to that World Cup roster, the experience she was able to get there. What do you make of her just kind of pushing Bev a little bit here to say, put me on this roster?
Yeah, I think I agree with what Jordan's saying, that we truly don't know how high her ceiling is. And she brings this unique quality in her profile where she's got pop, she's got explosiveness, she's got a willingness to take players on. But she doesn't exist in isolation either. So she's got this hybrid aspect of her that could tip Bev Priestman's hand when it comes time to choose the 18. But what I want to see across that front line, especially from Leon, who has had a really strong beginning of year for Canada, she's driven the attack, can she be the focal point as well? And the front line not existing in isolation, and neither the midfield. So from Grosso and Fleming, maybe staggering a little bit, seeing Grosso push forward a little bit, and linking up and finding that cohesiveness and the fluency in the attack, which I think there has been a little bit starved of through the two tournaments at the beginning of this year. But to go back to Smith, I think what I love about her is that she's not afraid to take a crack on goal, and that's something that this team has lacked. I think you see it a little bit in Leon, but I think you see the raw power of an Olivia Smith who can deliver that and be a threat with both feet from outside the box.
Well, clearly she's doing something right, because Bev has her in the starting 11. She wants to see more from her. We're going to see more from you, Amy, at halftime. Enjoy the first half. It's Canada, Mexico. They are in Montreal. Here's a look at Mexico's starting 11, brought to you by GE. Now, Mexico did not qualify for the Paris Olympics. They finished last in their group back in 2022 at the CONCACAF qualifier. But Jordan, this is a team that has been looking good since then.
Yeah, and speaking of Bev Priestman yesterday, she said that Mexico, she's very wary or cognizant that they're a team that could be opposites, right? The 9 and Ordenes could come and get to the ball, but then Sanchez and Camberos will run in behind. They're fitter, they're sharper. They have a different manager that has his team all on the same page. So they could hurt Canada if they're not ready. But this is the type of opponent, Andy, that you want right before the biggest tournament of your life.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive when they beat the United States 2-0 in group play at the Gold Cup, handing the USA their first loss on home soil since 2000. The Mexicans are also the 2023 Pan American Games champions. So they eventually bowed out, as we know, in the Gold Cup in the semifinals. Now, these two sides, as I mentioned, they will meet again on June 4th, 7 p.m. ET. That will be at BMO Field in Toronto, and you can once again watch it right here on One Soccer. And when we return, we'll hear from the young player who's making a strong case to be on that 18-player roster. She was voted the Gold Cup's best young player. It's Olivia Smith, and she's next. It's Matchday Live, presented by CIBC on One Soccer.
From the edge of your seat or up on your feet, let them hear you cheer.
Canada's women's national team on One Soccer is brought to you by Toyota.
Toyota's electrified vehicles are for everyone. Every chauffeur, snack connoisseur, every scenery soaker, practical joker, every road tripper, toe dipper, every 9-to-5er, every long driver. Starting over 20 years ago with the Prius, we now have the largest lineup of electrified vehicles in Canada because this journey belongs to everyone.
Access Storage, proudly supporting Canada Soccer's women's national team on their road to Paris 2024.
Smith again, one dribble, second dribble, and that is clinical.
To begin with, it was a hard decision to leave school. And realistically, I didn't really have many high expectations going into my first pro career. Just to be where my feet are and just get a taste of what it's like. And obviously, I kind of started out a little bit uncomfortable, of course, but I feel like as soon as I got my feet wet, got a little bit comfortable, I kind of had the season of my career thus far. I wasn't really playing at school either, so finally getting to play 90 minutes and bring out who I really feel that I am was an amazing experience for me. And I think there's tons of area of growth still. But as a player, just within that season, I feel like I've grown a lot. And also to be able to bring that into the national team throughout camps and to prove that, to continue getting called in is a blessing.
And finally, Canada has that breakthrough.
I think about it a lot, like what would have happened if I had stayed another season and potentially not have played or been comfortable, or again, it takes sacrifice, and I took that sacrifice of not knowing what would happen if I made this jump to pro, and I'm so glad because it was the best decision I could have made for my career. I think everyone knows the feeling of being able to play in front of your own home crowd, whether that's in Toronto, in Montreal, and Halifax. It's the best feeling ever, and knowing that we are a soccer country and we have so many supporters that there's no better feeling than playing at home. Watching even just the previous Olympics and seeing that these are girls that I'm playing with at the moment, and we were such a strong team then, and I feel like we're even stronger now. Now we have different personnel as well, so different qualities coming together. So even just being within this program since the last time they were at the Olympics winning gold, it's incredible to see, and knowing that I'm able to also keep up with the quality of players here.
Great to see Olivia Smith obviously making a name for herself here and getting the start once again. Mexico, this is the team they're playing in Montreal. They'll play them again in Toronto. And a lot of people will say when it comes to these types of friendlies, especially as you're prepping for the Olympics, the results aren't what matter. Are you throwing that out the window?
100%.
I'm with you. I get it. I can understand that sentiment because you really want to see partnerships, chemistry, dynamic. I get that. But what do you want to really see here tonight?
But also your lasting impression before you go to the big tournament.
Yeah.
You don't want to be like, oh, we lost 3-0 and we couldn't keep the ball and we are all disjointed. You want to be like, these are my homegirls. We're playing together. Everything's moving. You feel like you can be better, but you're still at a good level. Today, you want to see this team be aggressive but intelligent. It's hot. You don't want to press the whole time. So you need the leaders in the back or in the midfield to say when to do it. But this is that dress rehearsal. This should be feel-good vibes on home soil before you go to the Olympics. And you just want to see the best from the squad tonight.
All right. I mean, yeah, because this one was, we played really well. It was just that lucky goal that they got and we lost. Nah. Results matter.
They
Want
matter.
to see it. Of course they do. But I understand what Bev Priestman is trying to do here today as well. She will be experimenting. Let's not be surprised if we also see some strange things, because this is the time to do it as well. It's Canada, Mexico coming up next on One Soccer.
Allstate and its 900 agents proudly support Canadian soccer at every level. Visit allstate.ca.
From the edge of your seat or up on your feet, let them hear you cheer.
CanadaSoccerStore.com is the official home for the widest range of Canada Soccer licensed product, match jerseys, and fanwear.
Access Storage, proudly supporting Canada Soccer's women's national team on their road to Paris 2024.
Gatorade, with electrolytes to help replenish what's lost in sweat, carbs to help fuel your working muscles, and fluids to help you hydrate. Scientifically formulated so you never stop competing.
I do this for my town, my time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Rehydrate, replenish, refuel. Gatorade.
This ultimate mouth-watering moment is brought to you by the big, bold, ultimate taste of Ultimate Chicken Hot Dogs, only from Maple Lodge Farms.
In 5 years, we'll be doing this, but in Japan.
In 5 years, my family will be joining me.
I'll be living in the city.
Not living in the city.
In 5 years, I'll be king of the court.
I'll be playing for Canada.
I'll be playing for Canada.
In 5 years? Where won't I be in 5 years?
This match is brought to you by CIBC, Canada Soccer's lead partner.
Well, a very pleasant good afternoon and welcome to beautiful Montreal, Quebec, where at Stade Saputo, Canada will play the first of 2 matches at home against the Mexicans. A send-off series presented by CIBC. So great to have you along. Weather is near picture perfect on this Saturday afternoon. 24 degrees and partly cloudy skies right next door to the Big O on the grass here at Stade Saputo. Canada and Mexico, all attention towards the Paris Olympic Games, just a couple of months away. And today, an opportunity for Bev Priestman to get the side back onto the pitch for the first time since the She Believes Cup, where the Reds lost once again in a penalty shootout. But they have been near unbeatable in 90 minutes or extra time since that disappointing Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. And with an up-and-coming nation just a few countries to the south in Mexico, where Canada, of course, has played them before, but this is a much different team, and Bev Priestman would be the first person to tell you that. This is a much fitter team. This is a team that's starting to develop its own DNA under their new coach, and will offer Canada a couple of really good tests as these Canadians look for a better results at Stade Saputo from the last time that they were here back in October, where they fell by 1-0 to the Brazilians. It is Adam Jenkins, and a former CIS Player of the Year, a champion coach, and now a champion sports executive, Eva Havara, sitting to my right once again this afternoon. It's getting so close to Paris. The excitement and I'm sure some stress and tension for Bev Priestman is starting to settle in as she has to whittle this group down to 18 players and 4 alternates for the Olympic Games. How are you expecting her to approach these friendlies and the matches they will play before a ball is kicked at the Olympics to really determine this team?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Adam, great to be here again with you, and the sun is shining, so yeah, it does feel like the Olympics is right around the corner. Feels like summer is here. I think, you know, the main thing here, I think that Bev is looking for is sort of these final spots, right? So she does have to see some combination of players. You know, I'm not surprised with the start of Grosso, because at the end of the day, we do need to see what she can do, what she's going to bring to that midfield or not. I mean, as we all know, with the Olympics, it's less a smaller roster that you're dealing with, so bigger decisions ahead. It's these final spots and these final pairings of, you know, who's going to make a difference, who can she call upon. That's what I'm expecting to see over these 2 games.
And not to mention, she, like I'm sure many golfers right now, dealing with injuries, and will players be available for selection? You think of Quinn, who is out of the camp, Alicia Chapman, who's just returning to the group as a training player after her pregnancy, and some players who are working closer to return. I think of Desiree Scott, who's on the bench today, who hasn't seen the pitch for country in a couple of seasons now. It's different, too, for all of the coaches than it was in Tokyo, and we know Tokyo is a standalone set of circumstances with the pandemic and player availability, whether you want to call it a taxi squad or your Black Aces or what have you. Those players were more in tune with the team, and it was free-flowing. You could make changes throughout the tournament with this, and it's something that Bev told us yesterday when we spoke to her, is not only do I need players who be ready to be called upon if necessary, but I need character players who can say, I'm going to take that role. I'm not going to get all of the Olympic swag and the anthem jackets and feel as a part of this group as they are dreaming to be. All of these players believe that they should be in the group. So it's about the right fit, and it's about the different access Priestman could have. She might need all of them. She might need none of the 4. And you know better than anyone with your focus on leadership and being just a good teammate, how important that decision will be.
like it's tremendously important. I mean, the culture, the teamwork, the camaraderie in that room. I mean, again, you know, in these Olympic Games, it's all about those wins. It's all about performance. And so you need those role players around you that are just going to keep this team together and keep them tight and understand they may not get a single moment of playing time. And so what are they contributing off the field to play, you know, in the dressing room, around the Olympic Village to just keep this team moving forward? I think that's critically important. And then, of course, you know, out of these 2 games, at the end of the day, there is pressure here. And the pressure is, for these players, roster spots are on the line. So we're going to see who's going to rise to that occasion or who's going to let that occasion slip away from them.
Well, we will introduce you to the starting 11s and bring you all the team news just after a quick pause. We will step aside and listen in to the playing of both